Hey guys, it's your girl Cam and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then welcome, and I would love for you to join the Cam fam by hitting that subscribe button down below. Especially because I have a lot of awesome things coming your way for my beloved subscribers that you don't want to miss. So also make sure to hit that notification bell so that you're on top of everything. So today is another installment of my how-to makeup series. And I'm going to link the entire playlist for you right up here, just in case you want to catch up. But today we're going to be doing an eye look that basically breaks down the concept of reverse blending. And I personally use reverse blending really only when I'm wearing brights. So a bright eye look like this. Sometimes I'll use it if I'm just not getting the pigmentation that I need out of a matte that I'm trying to use in like the crease or the outer corner. It's a technique that you can do on its own, or you can even do it when you're doing your traditional eye blending look. So it's definitely a great technique to learn and have in your arsenal so that you can do a wide variety of eye makeup looks. And so in order to do today's look, I actually decided to use a lot of the stuff that I got in my BH Cosmetics haul that I did a little while ago. I know it's been a while. I've been distracted by like a lot of new releases. Morphe, I'm looking at you. And if you want to see that haul, I'm going to link that video for you up here as well. But basically, you know, I picked up a couple palettes and a couple of different like eye toppers. So for this look, I am using the Take Me Back to Brazil palette. And also a couple of the Eyelights in the colors Fresh and Gnarly. Alright, and if you're digging this look, please hit that like button down below for me. And let's get into breaking this look down. Okay, so as you can see, I did the rest of my makeup already, but I haven't primed my eyelids, as you can see by the fact that there's still visible veins and stuff. So I'm going to go in with a concealer. Now, normally what I would do when I'm doing my foundation, I would just apply the foundation over my eyelids as well, and when I do my under eye concealer, put that over my eyelids as well. And then when I set it with powder under my eyes, set my eyelids as well. Now, if you're new to doing reverse blending and you're a little scared and you don't know what it's like to work with an unset base, then definitely practice it first with how you would normally set your eyes. That's totally fine. You just won't get the maximum pigmentation from the eyeshadow if you do that. And if you do want to try with a wet base, then definitely try with your concealer first before you go and get like the P. Louise base, or I believe Anastasia came out with a new eye primer. But you can always use concealer. That's what I'm going to use today. And you know, I'm sure all these other formulas may do a better job with helping you get like vivid color, but this is good enough for me right now. So I'm going to be going in with my Colourpop No Filter Concealer. And I'm just going to put some on both lids. Now this is also when, since I've already done my brows, I can go and clean them up. And so I'm just going to take my Sigma 3D HD Precision Brush and blend this out, and make sure you blend it into the edges of your foundation, both on the outside of your lid and on the inside. Alright, now basically I'm going to leave it like that and apply the eyeshadows over the top of this. So whenever you see or hear somebody saying, don't set your base, something along those lines, that's what they mean. They mean they're going in with the primer or concealer and then not setting it, and this will really help them get a lot of really intense pigmentation. Alright, so if you happen to wait in between applying and blending this and then going in with your eyeshadows, be mindful of the fact that the concealer is going to start creasing, and once you start applying the shadow on top of it, it's essentially going to act like setting the concealer, so it's going to set the creases as well. So before you go in with your first shade, which will presumably go somewhere along like right in your crease, then I do recommend just going in with your brush again and blending out that creasing before you set the eyeshadow down. Alright, so because this palette doesn't have names, I'm just going to have to point to the colors. So the first color I'm going in with is this darkest navy right here at the bottom. And I'm going to take some flat on my Sigma E25 and just start packing it in the outer corner. And then I'm just going to bring it about halfway into the crease. Alright, so basically the concept of reverse blending is blending out darker shades with lighter shades and graduating that way instead of starting with the lightest shade and just gradually adding more depth as you get lower and tighter in the crease. So once you've got this darkest color down, you can either like just with your brush a little cleaned off, start blending out this edge a little bit, or you can skip this and just go straight into the next shade. But I just like to do this as a precautionary measure. Next, I'm gonna go into this blue color right here, which is a little bit lighter. And so with reverse blending, you want to catch where you put the last color and just kind of start packing the lighter color over it and really just blurring that line. But we're still packing on the color, and at a certain point, you can go in little windshield wiper motions and start blending them together a little bit. However, you do still want to pack to get maximum pigmentation. So I'm going to bring this into the inner corner. Now also with packing, be mindful of the edge that you are creating. The straighter the edge, the easier it's going to be for you to blend, because if you make the edge a little bit bumpy or uneven, you may end up with some patches of eyeshadow there that were heavily deposited that are going to be a little bit harder to blend out. So really try to keep this edge straight so that way your blending just looks more seamless. So once I've got that packed on, I wiped off my brush and I'm gonna go in and blend the edge of that shade a little bit. Again, we're not doing like huge circles, we're keeping all of the blending nice and tight just on the edge of the color. So speaking of keeping everything nice and tight over there, once you start going out towards your brow, you're gonna wanna use a smaller and smaller brush size just to ensure that we're not blowing this out like all the way up towards your brow, unless that's the look you're going for. But now I'm gonna switch to my Morphe M506 brush, and this is a really great small blending brush. It's still very fluffy, but it's a lot more precise. And I'm gonna go in with this lightest blue shade up here. And now I'm gonna start blending that in very small circles on the edge of the previous color. Then you can wipe that brush off and then just blend around the edges of everything with nothing extra on the brush. Alright, so that's a pretty good blend job, but A, I'm not like in love with it, and B, sometimes, especially when dealing with brights, it's a little bit harder to blend it into your skin tone and just really feel like you've done a good job blending it out and not having any harsh edges. So now there's a couple of different things you can do. You can keep blending with the clean little brush until it does a better job fading. You can definitely go in with something that you would use as your typical first transition shade and use that to go over the edge of it to try to blend it more into your skin tone. And what I'm gonna do is grab this kind of like transforming shade down here in the palette, which is like a white with iridescence in it. And basically this color definitely helps me fade out these edges. Also, it's what I'm gonna use as my highlight color, so it'll definitely help everything be very seamless. Alright, so that's looking better. Now, sometimes you may want to go in and intensify some of the first colors that you've laid down because you may have blended away a little bit too much. And I'm just going to take that mid color really and just add some to my outer crease, because I don't quite like the original shape that I created with it. I want it to stick out a little bit further, and this is definitely a time where you can go in and fix things like that. And then I'm also just gonna repack some of that first deep shade. All right, now I'm just gonna repeat everything on the other eye, But of course my other eye is already creased, so I'm just gonna smooth that out first. Okay, now I'm gonna quickly do the lower lash line before playing around with our lid shades. So I'm just gonna grab that medium color on my Sigma E20 short shader brush and just start smoking out my lower lash line with this. Then I'm gonna grab my Morphe M165 brush, and I'm going in with the darkest navy color that we used and brushing this closer to my lower lash line. Alright, so now for the lid, I'm going to be playing around with these two BH Cosmetics Eyelights toppers. So first, I'm just going to take that lightest shade that we used and apply some on my lid just to set a nice base for the eyelights. Then I'm just going to blend that out a little bit with my E25. Now I'm going to take the shade Gnarly, which is this really beautiful iridescent blue-green shade, and I'm going to apply it with my Sigma E56 brush. Now as far as these eyelights toppers go, they're actually very, very finicky to use. As you'll see, they have a huge tendency to get goopy, and they actually dry out pretty fast. I've only used them a couple of times, and I already feel like I'm having trouble getting the product out. One thing I will say is that if you have sensitive eyes, you may want to skip this, because every time I have to like wash these off of my eyes, it just feels really gritty, and I normally don't really have like super sensitive eyelids, but I've just had, you know, some irritation when cleaning these off. And even after I first apply them, I will have some irritation sometimes. Now, to not get these to be super goopy, you don't want to like smear them around with your brush, and you also don't want to apply too many layers because that'll guarantee that they get goopy. But what I like to do is do some thin coats, and then I'll just blend a little bit around the edges. I'm trying to work fast before it dries a lot, because then it'll just be goop city. I actually think that I might go in just because it's drying so much with the applicator. Now that I've got some more on my eyelid, I'm just going to use the brush to try to pack it a little more evenly and spread it out. Now up here by the crease, I'm just going to use the pointed end of my brush to blend this into the crease a little bit. I don't know if you can tell, but it is already gooped on me a lot. So once it's dry, and speaking of which, you do want to keep your eye open, otherwise it will dry with creases. You don't want to mess with it too much because it's just a downhill road. Alright, now I'm going to try to scrape out, like seriously, I've only used this like 3 times, I think. I'm going to try to scrape out the rest and put it on the other eye. Again, even with the applicator, if that's the method that you want to use to apply it, definitely try to pat and not swipe. Kind of like you use your beauty blender. It's more like pouncing it. Then I recommend that you just kind of like rest your eyes completely stretched out for this to dry. And at this point, it does feel like a little bit of like a burning sensation, I would say. I don't know, it's really weird, but it's not my favorite formula. I love the sheen and the finish of them, but they really need to work on the formula because these just dry very quickly, and I think that's part of why they're goopy and hard to get out of the container, because they just dry really fast. Alright, now once that's more dry, I'm going to go in with the color Fresh, which is this yellowy gold. It's a very, very yellowy gold, and I'm going to put it on the inner third. So this color I prefer to use the applicator with, and again, I don't recommend swiping it back and forth. Try to pat it as much as you can, because especially since this color is really light, it likes to just kind of like remove itself when you apply too much. And then I'm just going to go in with my brush just to blend out the edge of it. and of course blend it into the blue. Alright, so once this is dry, I'm going to pop on my Kiss lashes in the style Gala and just some white eyeliner in my lower waterline, and I'll be right back to show you the finished look. And so here's the completed look. And I'm going to zoom you guys in a little bit closer just because I really want you to see the texture of these eyelights. And as you can see, they're a little bit crusty and scaly looking, but it does kind of help give it a shine. But I'm not gonna lie, it's a little uncomfortable. They still sting my eyelids just a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed this look and me turning myself into the queen of Atlantis and a mermaid, and that's actually kind of appropriate because my eyes are a little scaly, but now you're a reverse blending pro. And seriously, I feel like for as like complex as this eye look is, it really didn't take me a lot of time at all to do, because with reverse blending, you're just able to like slap that pigment on there, blend it out a little bit, and it actually can be a time saver too, as well as a way to get a lot of pigment. Alrighty, so that's it for today. I'm sorry I don't have anything else for you, but it's like 7 o'clock and I gotta get to bed. I don't know if you can tell, but my eyes look exhausted because I filmed this look earlier and didn't have sound turned on. So yeah, I basically had to wash my face and start over once I got back home. So I'm really tired, but if you still want to watch some more videos by me, then here's a couple more by me that you can check out. And make sure to click on my face right here to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Alright, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for watching. I love you so much, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.